Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm hopping in here a little bit late for Teaching Tip Tuesday, but I still wanted to come in and talk about today's topic. Hi, I am Michelle Singh, a school achievement strategist and CEO of LCT-E Learning Solutions, where we recognize that many teachers struggle with having the right tools to tackle challenges that they face with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that is why we are very, very, very passionate about using our experience in the education field, over 20 years of experience in education, to really serve educators as they want to help their students flourish in their classrooms, socially, emotionally, academically, and culturally. So today, our topic is, again, because I actually talked about this maybe like 2 weeks ago, but we wanted to add a little bit more about how we can create more equitable opportunities for students regarding grading, because there are practices that we have where I did talk about it about 2 weeks ago that are considered anti-racist, and they're biased practices with grading. And so this discussion focuses on motivational practices that we can use to improve how our students' learning can really be enhanced, and even our relationships with them can be enhanced through the grading practices that we implement. So a few weeks ago, like I mentioned, we had talked about building rubrics with students. That was tip number one. And you'll see the tips, those 3 tips are also on the posts for Teaching Tip Tuesday. So building rubrics with students, incorporating student conferencing, and reevaluating how we grade homework. So those were the 3 tips that we discussed a little bit more in depth a few weeks ago. And just to call out that information was adapted from Shane Safir and Jamila Dugan. But today, I just want to offer 3 reflective questions for teachers to really consider when it comes to grading practices that they implement. I kind of coined the 3 I's for anti-racist grading, or more equitable grading practices. And they are, the I's are information, instructional decisions, and incentives. So question number 1 is to reflect on, to consider when you're looking at your grading practices. Does your grading practices and your policies provide information for students to improve? And an example of this could be, are students seeing what mastery looks like on this could be on the rubric, how they contribute to building a rubric with you, how you provide the rubric for them to see what that looks like, and what improvement looks like for, this particular grading concept. Number 2, the second reflective question is, does your grading practices and policies, or do your grading practices and policies inform your instructional decisions? So when you are looking at your, what the information is that you're gathering from the students, how does that drive your instructional decisions? Students, are they given opportunities to really showcase their mastery of the content in different ways? And your instructional decisions for how they do that are being adjusted to be more aligned with what their strengths and their interests are, right? So do your grading practices and policies inform your instructional decisions? Number 3 is, do your grading practices and policies offer incentives for students to want to learn, right? Are there authentic experiences for students in these grading policies and procedures and practices? Are they creating authentic products that's going to build those skills that they need, those future-ready skills that they need? Right. And so that's just one example. So, think about and reflect upon these three questions, the three I's. Does your grading practices and policies provide information for students to improve? Does your grading practices and policies inform your instructional decisions and, how they affect how students are showcasing how they learn? And does your grading practices and policies offer incentives for the students to want to learn? Is it authentic? Is it relevant? And the reason I pose these three questions tonight, instead of giving you just 3 tips, is because grades, just like standardized testing, grades are high stakes, right? They inform decisions about students even after these students leave our K through 12 classrooms. I can think of 2 specific examples, like right off top. So imagine a student experiencing a loss of a family member, and then their grades fall for just that period of time. And then this affects their performance in the class for that period of time. And then they earn let's say a D in the class for that semester only, and for that class. All other grades in the class are A's, but that one semester they earn a D. This D is on their transcript, and it is the only D they have ever earned in their entire educational K through 12 educational career. It's the only D on the transcript. This is a student in the top percentage of the school. This is a student with multiple honors and recognition. This is a student who is really a dynamic honors student, a scholar, a leader. But this one D has impacted them for academic awards, college acceptances, for scholarships, even post-college and graduate school, because they look at the grades that they've turned, that's been on their transcripts. I have seen how that one single grade can overpower all the other A's and accomplishments of a student. So when I say grades are high stakes, that's one example of how high stakes it can be and how it can affect them after they leave the K-12 classroom. Another example I can come up with, or that's a realistic example, think about a student who struggles in class, probably due to an undiagnosed issue like a learning disability, right? This student's strength is their verbal communication skills, but this particular strength is often seen as a disruption in class. And when they are graded, by teachers, this is not a skill that is assessed, because typically we assess with assessments, grading assessments assess written skills, mathematical skills, right? And so this verbal skill is not assessed by teachers often. And so a student like this earns poor grades and they don't do very well. Well, this can really have a devastating impact on a student. I have seen this. I actually saw this tonight as I was at my local Starbucks and started to have a conversation with a young man. And he told me his story, dropping out of high school, getting his GED, but is now attending college. Though this young man did find the courage to keep going after dropping out, many of the students don't. So I share that story with you because grading is high stakes. It has the power to really impact students again after leaving our K-12 classrooms. So think about your grading practices and think about if there are flaws in your grading practices. Does it punish students, or does it help to provide information for students to improve? Does it help to inform your instructional decisions and how you are allowing students to showcase their mastery of the content? Does it offer incentives for students to want to learn because it's authentic and relevant? So I will close our conversation tonight by leaving you with those 3 thoughts: information, instructional decisions, and incentives. So have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.